Dear Brian, it's been 1 year, 2 months, and a day since you have passed. Some days it feels like yesterday. Other days it feels like an eternity since you have been gone. It's so hard to decipher what I'm feeling most of the time. Sometimes I feel like I'm in shock, but most days I'm just purely exhausted, trying to get through one day at a time. Being a solo mom, working my full-time job, and now carrying on our nonprofit, vetlings.org, in your honor. I will never forget the moment we met. It was love at first sight. 2 years later, we were married and soon enough pregnant right after that. Knowing what I know now, I remember the first signs of your post-traumatic stress. I obviously had never been to war, but could only assume after multiple combat tours you would need to talk to someone about your encounters. And so you did, and sure enough, you were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress in the beginning of 2012 and put on multiple medications for depression, anxiety, and nightmares. For the next 2 years, I slowly watched you continue to deal with your post-traumatic stress and cope with it in ways that was not the Brian that I knew. Your coping mechanisms were slowly starting to take over. You would apologize and break down that you didn't know what was happening to you and tell me that you felt as if you didn't have control of your actions. I forgave you every time. I believed you didn't know why and vowed that we would get through this together no matter what. And then in the summer of 2015, it just seemed to be the beginning of the end. You quit going to work, you couldn't get out of bed, you were so severely depressed. I didn't know what to do or how to help you. I just wanted you to snap out of it selfishly. I wanted to yell at you and say, pull it together, Kavanaugh. You're a ranger and a major in the Army, for crying out loud. I may or may not have yelled that to you at whatever point of this madness, but it's what I felt. I was tired of being a caregiver. I was tired of carrying the workload and watching over a 3 and a 1-year-old and making sure you weren't going to hurt yourself or someone else for that matter in the midst of your trauma. I can't tell you the number of nights when I would wake up and you weren't there. My panic attacks were endless, and I was always worrying about you and what may or may not happen. In June, you were set to head to Heroes and Horses in Montana. I had found them through a friend, and I thought a nonprofit like themselves might be a great soul awakening for you. I had never lost hope. I was still in love with the man I fell in love with that very first day. You were still the most handsome, brilliant love of my life, with that beautiful smile and laugh that I still had held on to every single day. I believed in you. Except when you came back, it was another rough transition. I had no idea what triggered it again. Our 5-year anniversary was that Saturday the 25th, and I wasn't up for any sort of celebration. You convinced me that we needed a night to go out, and I finally agreed. We got to our hotel, and it was as if the post-traumatic stress disappeared. You were the Brian I knew and remembered in all of your happiest of days. We had the best 24 hours I remember having in such a long time. I wasn't sure what had clicked, but I didn't care. I held on to it with every ounce I could. Except when we got home that Sunday, you went straight to bed. The depression came back. My hopes went from a solid high to rock bottom. What the hell was the trigger? The door? I mean, seriously, I was so confused and upset. The following morning, I kissed the girls goodbye, touched you on the shoulder, and told you that we would talk later. I was at a breaking point. 20 minutes later, you called me and apologized for everything. You went on for at least 10 minutes about how everything was going to change and how sorry you were. I was so inspired by this phone call. When I got home that evening from work, you weren't there. I was sure you were going to come home late, often which you had done in the past. This wasn't new. The next morning, I went to my therapist appointment, and then headed to see Jean, thinking you would meet me there to avoid me alone, upset at the house. You never showed up to the appointment, and Jean thought it best to file a missing persons report. I was still calm at this point. Again, this wasn't new, and I knew you were going to come back. You just knew I was angry. I got ready for work that morning, gave your mom an update. I was driving down 95 when I had a missed call from a detective. I actually thought for a minute that I would call him back later to find out where you were. Instead, I decided to call him back. He answered and said, "Ma'am, we found your husband." And I responded, "Great. Where the hell is he?" I still honestly thought in my heart of hearts that you were still alive. And all he could say to me was, "I'm sorry. He didn't make it." And those were his exact words that changed my life forever. I'm sorry he didn't make it. Brian, my world literally was torn apart in an instant. In a matter of seconds. I felt my soul crumble into a million pieces. I just started screaming, "My baby, my baby." Brian, knowing what I know now, I'd do it all over again. I loved you with my whole heart. You will always have a place in my heart, and maybe one day I'll even love again. I don't know. I pray you stay with me every day. I pray you guard those girls with your life. And I pray that you keep helping me from above, emotionally and with VetLink, so that we can help others just as we had envisioned then and continue to try to do now. I love you, Jess. And this is my 500 miles.